Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast and happy holidays. Hopefully, it's been a very eventful holidays for you. As usual, have different topics that I'll discuss today. Um, and I'll start off with exciting news or exciting rumors coming from EA Sports. EA Sports recently released the EA Sports College Football 25, which has been, it was just recently, I believe, credited as the best-selling sports video game of all time. So, off of that excitement, there's rumors that EA Sports and 2K are in talks about bringing the college basketball hoops back to fruition. It's been on a hiatus since I believe 2010. So it's been about 15 years since this game released, and the game probably won't release until 26. So it'll probably be around 17 years or so before the next. Well, since the first game, since the game will actually re-release. There are no talks about. Nothing's confirmed yet as far as the game and what systems will it be available on, or if the game will even be out. But they're having talks. But if they're having talks about it, it's more likely it will come out sometimes in the near future. Um, with college football doing as successful as it did, and breaking all these different sales barriers and all these different things. The first week the game released, there were crashes on the server because many people were on the server trying to play online college football. So that's a very good sign for college sports and college football and other sports that have came out in the past, but kind of took a hiatus due to sales and things like that. It seems like there is a new day for the sports gaming network. So, like I said, it's been 15 years since the last game released, and I believe Blake Griffin was on the front of that college basketball game. Growing up, I did play the college basketball games, not as much as probably the college football games, but the college basketball games were very exciting for March Madness sakes and trying to make the tournament in the realism as it relates to scenarios. The graphics wasn't the best, but the scenarios were great. You create a player and put them on like the worst team possible and see if you can make the tournament. It was very interesting to try to get that done. So I'm looking forward to the talks continuing, but once the game is officially going to be announced that they're working on it, it's going to be a long wait, similar to college football. College football was announced in 2021 that they were going to bring it back after the NIL deals and players were finally being able to be compensated. So it's going to be a long road. It took 3 years for college football to come out, and there's still some kinks they're trying to work out. So once they get those kinks worked out, I believe you know the game will be even better. The game is awesome. I still like the game. It kind of made Madden obsolete for me, but to see college football back in video game form brings a lot of things out. There's so many teams, so many different playbooks. There's a lot of different uh, players to use on the game. So opposed to Madden, there's only 30 teams. There's hundreds of teams or 100 and some teams on college football. So you have a lot more options and the recruiting is a lot better. So, um, but like I said, not many details yet. But one thing I was very concerned about as far as this game is coming back is will there be a women's basketball integrated into the game, or will they have separate games? My assumption it will be something like an NBA 2K where they have the WNBA game within the men's game. So, but I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking just I haven't looked at any stats or anything, but to me, the women's basketball game is more exciting and has more ratings than the men's game. Now, it might be different in March Madness and things of that sort, but all the premier players and talent is on the women's side, and it's pretty heavily lopsided right now. So, um, like I said, they're still in talks, and hopefully they integrate the women's basketball somewhere in there because, like I said, there's so much talent in the women's basketball game. It will definitely sell off of that, off the strength of that alone. But then they have to find out how to pay all these players because they can't just use their likeness anymore due to the name, image, and likeness that's out. They'll have to find out how to pay all those players, but it'll be easier than playing college football. It's like 85 players on the college football team. There are only like 15 or 16 at the most players um, on a basketball team. So it'll be a lot easier if they can make the sales and make the game work if they figure it out. And another thing I thought about college football, they couldn't use the NCAA name anymore, which college basketball never did. So I want to know if they still use the March Madness name. I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted in some way, and they would have to compensate the NCAA. So they might have to rename the game as well to college basketball hoops or something like that. I think 2K had their game called College Hoops, so they might have to rename the video game because NCAA probably in some way has March Madness copyrighted. So it's going to be interesting to see what they'll do with the name as well, like they did with college football. Also, what platforms will the game be on if it's a go? College football only did Xbox and PlayStation this time around. Many people were upset because they didn't do it on PC. They didn't do it on Nintendo Switch. They didn't do it on these other different platforms that people use for gaming, like PCs is a huge one, huge market. And I think they lost out on a lot of money. I think they said eventually they'll put it on PC. Probably the next round they'll do that. So college basketball has to take all of that in consideration for the PC gamers. Mostly PC gamers are playing things other than sports, but there are, that niche market of PC gamers that play sports games too. So they need to incorporate that probably into their marketing, into their creation of the game. Um, yeah, so like I said, thinking about this resurrection of these video games, not to be blasphemous, I guess, but um, will this spark other games that haven't been out in a while? I'll put a survey up about games that you want to see coming back out. A lot of people was heavily favored for NBA Live series to come back out because it kind of went dormant after 2K kind of made it obsolete. So I want to see the return of EA Sports Fight Night as well, and other college sports. There was a college hockey game, and I believe there was a hockey baseball game. I mean, a college. There was a college baseball game and a college hockey game. I do believe. I know it was college baseball game for sure. It was a 2K in a 2K series. So will those games come back as well? There's not a lot of fanfare in those sports, but maybe they'll bring it back just to test the waters after the success of EA Sports College Football. But Fight Night was a big one, and I think they're already in talks to bring that back in 2026 sometime. So, like I said, this probably will spark a new trend of games coming back out. I know the Skate series is supposed to come back out as well, and it's kind of in the testing phase right now. So, um, pretty much good things coming down the road for those gamers out there and gamers like myself who only play sports games mostly. So to transition to another thing with college sports, Cam Newton recently said there's no excuses for players not playing these bowl games. They're not amateurs anymore; they get paid, and they should have their money taken if they're not paid. Now, when I address this situation or the statements that Cam Newton made, my statements are purely made off someone who is not an athlete and hasn't been an athlete since Little League. I'm speaking directly from a business perspective because they say NCAA is a business, especially when you pay the players now. It's a business. It's no longer amateurism, as Cam Newton said. It's no more student athlete. It's more of an athletic student now, because everybody knows what the end goal is. Even though a lot of people, the percentages are stacked against you to make the pros, it's still a possibility, and you still want to make money off your image. So it's a business now. So as a non-player, I see the business side of players not sitting out these bowl games, especially if it's meaningless. Now I'm only speaking from a perspective if it's meaningless. So those players who didn't make the playoff, the 12 team playoff system. If you're in some bowl game, the Cheez It Bowl, or not to throw doubt on it, the Alamo Bowl, or whatever bowl you're playing in, um, you have to look at it like a business. If God forbid, a player gets injured in one of these meaningless bowl games, and now he can't play anymore, his family suffers from that because a lot of people were riding on him, you know, going to the next level, making all this money. Nothing's for sure, but you can kind of protect some things. So if I have a guaranteed top five, I'm a top five draft prospect, and I tear my ACL, and I'm no longer able to play, that hurts my family. Like I'm making money from the NIL, I'm probably making a couple of million, but I'm risking away hundreds of millions of dollars possibly just by playing some bowl game that was meaningless. And my draft status was already set. Um, it brings me back to, I believe, I can't think of his name, but it was a South Carolina running back, Marcus. I forgot his name, last name, but he ended up messing up both his knees, never going to the league. Dreams were depleted off of that. He wasn't in the bowl game; it's just a regular game. But these players put a lot on the line, especially in football. Um, every play is a collision. Every play is you're at risk. You could be standing by a pile. Somebody could fall and run into your leg. How many times do you watch a game and you see a player just standing around or like trying to block somebody and the running back falls on his legs and now he's out of the game? Career is gone or season's over. So it's a lot that you have to think about when you think about that perspective of players sitting out these bowl games, especially not a playoff game, but a bowl game. Cam Newton is a player I would think he would understand, but he's kind of far removed from the game at this point. He's more of a pundit and an analyst, so he has to see it from that perspective now. But I think he was trying to see it from a business perspective, but he kind of seeing it as from an owner uh, or the school who paid the money standpoint. Because you have to think about this as well. You're not only paying these players to play, you're paying them for their likeness. They're bringing fanfare in. So even if these players aren't playing, are not playing, people are still going out to see them and see players alike. For example, Colorado, they have a unique situation when they have two star talents and as well as a star coach. So even if a Shador and Travis Arden are not playing, you still have people coming out to support Dion. You still have people coming out to see Travis and see Shador on the sidelines, and just to see that whole atmosphere that they've created. So it's not just about what you can do on the field, it's about what you do off the field as well. How many jerseys can you sell? How many eyes can you bring to the game? How many people can you put in the seats? It's not just about their play. Like I said, it's a business. It's NFL now. It's a lower level NFL as far as contracts goes, but as far as the expectations are just the same, or if not more severe in college from the fan bases that they have. And recently, we've seen how important these college fan bases are. They are more supportive than these NFL teams because it's based off of pride and it's not based off of just fanfare for the city or a likeness for a city or a town. But recently Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders actually put out draft insurance just in case they get hurt in this bowl game. And I think the only reason they're going to play in this bowl game this coming up Saturday is because the support they have for the coach. Shador, of course, that's his dad. He trusts his dad, and he's going to go out there and support his dad. Travis Hunter is considered a son to Deion Sanders, so of course he's going to go out there as well, and they're going to give their all, and they're going to play BYU, and they've played them before, and I think they won that game. So it's going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be an exciting game. Hopefully they go out on a high note before they enter the draft this following April. But I don't think Shador or Travis Hunter would play if it wasn't Deion Sanders being the coach. You have a lot riding and a lot at stake here, especially for Travis. Travis comes from a single parent home, I believe, uh, and money is going to be a lot to consider going forward in his career because like I said, he loves football and football is his passion. So him being able to provide for his family and to set a new beginning for them is going to be a lot. And a big part of that is for him to continue his career. A lot of what he does is for football. Like I said, the amount of snaps that he's put into this season, the amount of time that he put into the season, there's a big payoff at the end, not just financially, but from a career point standpoint. Maybe one day he can be a broadcaster, be an analyst, and do these things, and being able to transition his career. So, like I said, these players, a lot of people don't realize it, but they go through a lot and being able to do what they do. Us as 9 to 5ers, there's not a lot of risk in our job, and the risk that we do have, we can some way kind of avoid it, but they have the risk every play, and they have to put themselves at risk, and there's no sympathy for it. It's just kind of like the business. You get hurt, they say it's a part of the game, and they just send you on your way. It's a sad thing, but it's the way the game is. Players know they're signing up, but if they can protect themselves, is very vital that they can in any kind of way. Other than, like I said, if it's those playoffs games, um, you know, but they're trying to obtain that generational wealth. And if they can get that generational wealth by playing, one day, having ownership status or being able to venture into different businesses, it's a life changer. But, if somebody squanders your dream or your dream is kind of taken away from you, you have to kind of switch gears. So, prayers up to all the players out there playing in these bowl games and trying to make it to the next level, to make this healthy transition to the next stage. Um, so, talking about another transition as far as sports and athletics goes, Caitlin Clark was named the Times Player Athlete of the Year, and she did an interview with them as well, which is not a common thing for Caitlin Clark to do. She's more reserved. She's more quiet. She speaks in post game conferences, but for the most part, you won't get an exclusive interview. She hasn't been on Club Shay Shay. She hasn't been on First Take or any of these Pat McAfee or any of these big platforms. So when she speaks, everyone's pretty much all ears because, like I said, you don't see it often. And for her to be such a dynamic player, most people want to hear what she has to say, what her personality is like, because a lot of people don't know. But in this interview, something that she said kind of caught my attention. There's kind of been a growing topic, coming up that's always kind of surrounded her, but she never addressed it. She finally addressed this topic, and they asked her about the controversy surrounding her just being, kind of this new, new trendsetter for the WNBA, kind of being compared to Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, her and Angel Reese being compared to that being this new age or a new beginning for the WNBA. And she said that she feels that, you know, that she's the most controversial person ever, but she's not, you know. And that's for a couple of reasons, because a lot of times when issues about her come up or speculations, she never addresses them. In the interview, she said she doesn't see them, but it's difficult to not see them unless you just completely unplug from social media or unless you completely unplug from people around you, because people around you will tell you these things too if you don't see them. So it's kind of hard to believe. It's kind of, her interview kind of gave me, it resembled the Tom Brady kind of interview. He was kind of like clueless about things or say, "Oh, that happened, I didn't know." But in the back of my mind, it's kind of like these PR teams that they hire tell them, don't talk about certain things, keep it close knit, keep it on sports, and that's it. Which is good advice, but sometimes you got to understand that if you don't address these issues, they become bigger than what they are because people assume that you're condoning these things. And these things I was talking about is a couple of her fans in the comments when it's articles about Caitlin Clark have said racial insensitive things, and they asked her about that, and she said, I can't control what people say. I don't even see these things most of the time, but when you have players coming out like Dejanay Carrington for Connecticut Suns, she said that it's kind of uh, your silence is a privilege, because we know in most communities you can't be silent about these things. When there's racism, you have to attack it head on and say, "Hey, I don't condone these things. I don't stand for what these people are saying. My fans, I don't know them individually, but I don't condone anything that they're saying." And when you don't come out and address these things publicly, and you kind of sweep under the rug, people think you're condoning these things, whether it's right or wrong or not. But that's what people are going to think because, like I said, silence is a privilege, but silence is also condoning sometimes. A lot of times, like if you see somebody getting hurt or you see somebody, signs of someone getting hurt, you don't say anything, sometimes it's bad. It's considered bad because, like I said, you don't have to be in everybody's business, but at some point you have to say no to things. And that's what kind of, this is not new. This is something Michael Jordan went through. People got on Michael Jordan for saying, Republican buy sneakers too. And he didn't address a lot of social injustices that happened throughout his career. Now, we're not expecting all these athletes to do that because we know those Fox News pundits and things like that will say, just shut up and dribble. but athletes are people too, and they have feelings and they have families, and they go through things. Just because when people are dying, it doesn't have to be politics all the time. So when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, a lot of people say, "Oh, that's political." No, we're trying to save lives. Colin Kaepernick he brung a light on these things. He said, "Hey, my people are out here dying due to injustices," and he was blackballed out of the league, and nobody batted an eye over it. But then years later, when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, they were like, "Oh wow, these people are dying." Colin Kaepernick was right, and he was out of a job for it, but he stood on it. He had a backbone. Being an athlete, is more than just being an athlete. You're a role model. A lot of kids look up to you. People look to you for encouragement, for an uplifting. That you're not just a figure, just to dribble a basketball or throw a football. So people like Muhammad Ali, who believed in not and didn't believe in war and wanted to believe in his rights. He stood for something. He lost years of his prime fighting the government and trying to stand on what he believed as a man of Islamic faith. And you think about LeBron James. LeBron James is somebody who stands out and who is a big part of his community. He's on the front line, so to speak. LeBron James speaks about a lot of injustices. Like I said, he has black children, black kids, black daughters, black wife. So he's looking out um, for people behind him because he's a millionaire, well, billionaire at this point. He could easily ignore these things, but he takes time out of his day because he knows, as a black man, money won't save you from that. Money won't make you immune to the societal evils. And like I said, I'm gonna do a topic on Mahomes because Mahomes is kind of doing the Caitlin Clark. He's hiding his tail. His family has come about their political views, and he kind of just shrugged it on the rug and just didn't say where he stood on it. Harrison Butker disgraded women by basically he put them in a box of just being housewives and being mothers instead of uplifting them to be more. And Patrick Mahomes just kind of brushed that under the rug. So these athletes have to have more of a backbone because you're more than an athlete. And if you don't want to be put in just that athletic box, which some people do, you have to be more than just that. People are looking forward to you speaking up. You have the power, and you have all of these resources to be able to help change things. For example, Mahomes, if he comes out and you know speaks out against injustices, the NFL can't do anything. He's such a big draw for the league that he can pretty much say what he wants and they can't do anything about it. Similar to LeBron James. LeBron James has a lot of power in the league. He pretty much is the face of the league. They're not going to do anything about him speaking about injustices because, for one, he didn't do anything wrong. And for two, he has so much power within the league and resources that they can't do anything to him. But these other athletes have to come out and say that. Um, a lot of issues that Caitlin Clark had this year with players being overly aggressive with her, I think it had something to do with her being able not to speak out on what side she's on. You have to speak out and being able to address these things and not tuck your tail. Because, like I said, unless you want to get put in just an athletic box and just want to be known as an athlete, um, you have to speak on these things. But I'll get off my soapbox and into some happier news. Beyonce um, had the halftime performance for the first ever Netflix football games this year. The halftime between the Ravens. Why am I drawing the blank? Between the halftime show between the Ravens and the Houston Texans. Very good, exciting halftime show. It was Super Bowl esque type performance. Um, I'm just surprised that none of the games crashed like the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. A lot of people were kind of on the fence about what was the system going to crash because, like I said, NFL brings a lot of fans. And the Tyson Paul fight was a little later in the night, so for it to crash, it just seemed like it was going to be a no brainer that the NFL games were going to crash, but my games didn't crash. Unfortunately. So I was able to catch this Beyonce live performance. Now, I really didn't have expectations for it because I didn't think they was going to do such a big, uh, they're going to do a big shindig for this whole halftime show. I thought it was going to be somewhere she just stand on stage, sing the songs, but she did a whole performance. She came out on the white horse throughout the tunnel. She went out to the football field, and they used every yard of that football field for the performance. They had all these classic cars everywhere, Texas style. They had the whole country music set up. They had appearances from Shabuzi, Post Malone, Blue Ivy. There was a Blue Ivy sighting throughout the performance. So it was a very Super Bowl S type performance, and for Beyonce to, the most thing I was shocked about was Beyonce got on the platform like Rihanna at hers and was lifted up throughout the stadium. Now that takes a lot of bravery to do that because you don't really have much to hold on to except for the side of the platform to hold on to, but for the most part you're on your own. And that takes a lot to do. And she was still singing as the platform was rising, several feet in the air. I know for me it'll be kind of nerve wracking, just being afraid of heights like that. But like I said, call her Queen Bee for a reason. It was an amazing performance. She was able to sing on the horse, sing throughout, in the car. It just showed you her vocal strength and her vocal range to be able to do all that, and the millions of people watching, and the hundreds of thousands of people probably in the stadium, close probably 100,000 in the stadium. Such a big platform, especially on Netflix, with so many different subscribers, so many people tuned in. And here at Urban Scope Podcast, we will not take any Beyonce slander. Uh, like I said, Queen Bee is to be protected at all costs. The performance was everything I thought it would be, even more, especially with the appearances that I didn't expect. But Beyonce is that ultimate performer. I did post a survey on my page about who's the best performer between Beyonce, Prince, Usher, and Michael Jackson. I'll look at those results after I post this video. But for Beyonce to go all the way with this country theme and this country music platform that she did, I'm very proud of her for it. Like I said, we set the trends in the black community. We set the trends. Like I said, we started out with the country music, but we kind of veered away from it for R&B and hip hop. But we will be making a comeback to it. Um, Beyonce kind of talked about, or there's been rumors about her next album being a rock album. We can take that back as well. Um, like I said, we had those out. So kudos to Beyonce and for her performance. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Urban Scope Podcast. And until next time, I'll see you next time.